So we launched the application in November of last year, and it was kind of late last year, December, January, that we began talking to a few investors and a few companies, and Yahoo happened to be one of those companies.
Can you tell us who the other companies were?
I can't tell you that, no.
Worth trying, though. So you'll be working with Marissa Mayer. That's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about Yahoo's initiative to bring mobile to the forefront of what they do, and I think our focus on design and technology is definitely aligned with theirs. So
why Yahoo, though, over the unmentionables, the ones you won't tell us about?
To me, Yahoo is one of these classic internet companies, and under the new leadership of Marissa Mayer, they have focus on bringing beautiful experiences to mobile, and they have these assets, like they have a newsroom, they have weather, stocks, finance. If you could create a beautiful user interface and put that onto phones, they have a massive opportunity, and that's what's really exciting.
Were there any companies that showed an interest in you? Maybe there were some that you would have wanted to show an interest in you that didn't?
I mean, not particularly. I was very agnostic in terms of, talking to these companies, investors. I just wanted to do what's right for the technology, and I think Yahoo's going to offer the scale, hundreds of millions of users on a monthly basis that we'd love to see.
For some of our viewers that aren't aware of your history, I mean, you're 17 years old. You've been designing apps for quite a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, I started programming when I was 12, and, like, for example, my first app was a treadmill for your fingers called Finger Mill, so I did a few gimmicky games, and then it wasn't until 2011 that I got serious and started doing something.
And what inspired you to get serious?
I guess it was the way in which the App Store, the amount of applications was increasing, but also the scale. So if you released an app, you could have hundreds of thousands of downloads in 24 hours, and so that really excited me, and I wanted to get to that level. And I was very fortunate that the Hong Kong billionaire Li Ka-shing, his fund reached out to us, or just me, in September of 2011 and invested some money.
What do you think about venture capital funding? Because, as you say, he's one of the ones that reached out for you. Anton Kutcher, Yoko Ono, numbers have reached out to you. What do you think of the UK venture capital space right now for technology startups?
So, I mean, we dealt with a lot of angel investors because we were still quite a small stage company, but I did go in and speak to kind of the UK investors as well as the US, and they all seemed very excited to back mobile companies, which is a really good thing because Summly is a mobile-only application, and there wasn't any criticism or prejudice towards us just being mobile. I think they've realized and understand the power of millions of people reading on their phones.
Have you been surprised at the preponderance, at how quickly the app space has grown on mobile? I suppose it leads to the question, how big is it yet going to become?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Mary Meeker said that by next year, in 2015, there's going to be more people on mobile web than there are on desktop. There's 1 billion smartphones at the moment. In 3 years, it's going to double. So these kinds of statistics are demonstrating that if you do come along and build the right app for the ecosystem, you could have basically dominance in a vertical. And obviously, we're really excited about taking our summarization technology into kind of the news play.
So what is next for Summly? I mean, how big? What are your plans for it?
So we want to integrate the technology into different assets or properties at Yahoo. So that could be a news app, it could be something else. So again, we're looking for the best areas to apply the technology, but we took the app off the store yesterday and we'll be reintegrating the technology into various parts.
What technology excites you the most right now, would you say?
It's a bit cliche, but it's like artificial intelligence apps.
Yeah.
So, for example, there's this calendar called Tempo that's like Siri, and it's for calendar stuff, and there's a few other technologies that, again, trying to, without human intervention, do things, and that's what we try to do.
Are there any apps out there you wished you designed? Give me a couple. What's your favourite app, besides Summly, of course?
From a design perspective,
yeah.
I really like Path. I don't know if you know that. It's this kind of social network from an ex-Facebook employee where it's about having only 150 friends.
Yeah.
It's this really, really beautiful designed application.
Just 150 friends?
It's dumb.
That's it?
Yeah, it's like they did some social study. But so the user interface on that is famous for being brilliant.
And what else? Any others you wished you had designed? Any apps out there?
I began using Pinterest a lot, actually. The kind of you pin different pictures and design things. So that's also a really cool service, I think, that's growing.
What do you think of the UK technology community? Because it's evolving in Shoreditch, isn't it? How do you think that community is evolving right now?
I think it's really great. I mean, I'm very close to Joanna Shields, the CEO of Tech City, and Tech City's basically supported me throughout this whole thing since I was 15. I think this demonstrates that basically London has become a centre now, definitely in Europe anyway, for technology. So a lot of our investors and original advisors were also based here.
Is the government helping the tech space enough?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're raising awareness. I think the most important thing now is probably to bring into the ICT curriculum or somehow into education schooling, raising awareness to the fact that you could program, you can release iPhone applications, and I think that's going to be the next step.
Is that happening more and more in schools? I mean, you've been out of school, what, for 6 months now, focusing on the business. Is it happening more and more in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been back since, so I don't know what's happened in 6 months, but even in our ICT lessons, which was just, the national curriculum, we were taught about, other platforms, for example, iPad, iPhone. I would like to see a bit more programming, but I think Michael Gove's announced they are introducing programming into ICT lessons eventually, so I think it's definitely moving in the right track.
What's your ambition? What's your give me the plan in the next 10 years. What are you, 17?
Yeah.
What's the ambition from when you're, say, 30? Give me the ambitions for 30 years old.
I don't know. I want to do other companies. My dream would be to build a company where, I could sit there for 5-10 years and build it, not so much like a startup or a quick thing, but and really...
What sort of company?
Again, probably technology or something in business, but in order to do that, I do need to get the experience that I'm hopefully going to have at Yahoo now and combine that with the startup stuff, because somebody was, only had 10 employees or so. I want to get a sense of what it's like to be in a big company.
Who are the leaders? Who are the business leaders that you really admire? I mean, you mentioned Marissa Mayer. Who are the other ones you admire right now?
Well, Steve Jobs was the reason why I actually got into all of this. I mean, it's again a bit cliche, but I read his non-official biography about 4 years ago, and then wanted to start programming as a result. I mean, the person you have to admire really is Mark Zuckerberg, because again, he's like one of the youngest CEOs.
Have you met him?
I have briefly, but
what was he like?
Cool. Very modest, but it's he's awesome as well. Like Marissa, very young.
Yeah. What did Zuckerberg and what did Jobs teach you then? What was the takeaway from that book that you read? Would you say what's the one bit of advice that spurred you on?
I think the one from the Steve Jobs kind of story is just perseverance, and I think he said something brilliant like, loads of people just don't ask, and if you ask and you really do try and get yourself out there and get the product out there, people do tend to help. So that's I think the most important thing is the tenacity to keep persevering, because that's what I had to do. Is
that your best attribute, perseverance?
Yeah, I like to kind of keep going after something. I'm quite a determined person, so that's something I like to continue.
Where did you get that determination from? At 17, I certainly wasn't determined. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I've been always quite just self-motivated. I think it's just I have a curiosity to learn. So whether it's stuff about technology or things, other interests, it's just the learning and the curiosity. And I guess as well, when you're young, you don't know about constraints in the world because you haven't experienced it. So that's probably half the reason why I'm so.
So what are your other interests? Non-technology interests.
Well, I was going to say design and typography. That's kind of technology.
Same sort of thing.
Sports. I like playing cricket, football, seeing my friends when I can on the weekends. Used to be into space and universe quite a lot. So again, it's just like various interests.
Let's talk money, because there's all sorts of figures being bandied around. Can you give us a figure? Can you give me a figure or not? Is it 20 million? Is it $30 million? Can you give us a wink or a nod or something? Is it near 30 million?
I can't. I mean, the terms of the deal aren't being disclosed, but there are these numbers out there.
Will they be disclosed or not? Will we find out or not?
Probably not. But there are numbers out there. I mean, again, it's like yes, people are going to focus on how much was it and why, but I think the really exciting thing to take from this is that Yahoo's strategy now for mobile applications is to take innovative technologies or people trying to do that innovative stuff and bring them into Yahoo, and that's exciting. What's
it like being such a young millionaire? Because, come on, your friends must have asked you about it, you must have thought about it. How does it feel?
Slightly strange. I don't really sit there contemplating that, but I think I want to again make sure that money's invested and kind of safe.
What are you going to do with the money?
Well, it'll be in like a trust fund with my parents, and it'll be kind of invested and safe.
Would you like to invest in startups yourself? I mean, is that something you'd like to do with the money?
Yeah, at one point, I think when the time's appropriate and if the right opportunities come along, I would love to be an angel investor or help companies. That'd be really fun.
At what stage will you have access to that money then? What, 21 or 18?
Yeah, I mean, in the next few years, the way it's going to work basically is like if I use the money for a certain size of transaction, I have to get a parent's signature, which is actually reasonable because I wouldn't trust myself, to be honest. So there's going to be kind of my advisors and stuff helping me manage that.
So what are you going to buy? What's the first thing you're going to buy? You're going to buy a car or a house or any ideas? Go on, give us something. What are you going to buy with it? Well, something grand.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was trying to think, because I mean, it's like I need a shoulder bag.
What do you want? What do you need?
I don't have a driving license, so I can't get a car yet. Yeah, I might get a new computer, actually. I mean,
what have you got? You've got a Mac, haven't you?
I've got a Mac, MacBook Air, but I might try and get the Retina MacBook.
Does money spur you? I mean, what really drives you as a person?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I was starting to do apps, so, for example, I made £79 on my first app when I was 12, and that to me was amazing. Like, that did motivate me a lot. But I think more fundamentally, it's trying to just innovate and change things. And so with summarizations, not controversial, but it is quite an innovative technology. And so we're hoping to see that used now in the
So what's the big idea? Give me the big, Nick,
for
Deloitte idea going forward. Give us an idea of what this idea might be.
I don't know, what, summary stuff going forward? Okay. Well, my idea here would be that eventually the summary layer becomes ubiquitous, hopefully across the web, and especially on mobile. So instead of reading just a headline and then deciding, do you want to read the full story, if you have a summary, that's going to help you evaluate, is this relevant for me? And so I'm hoping to see summaries kind of appear all across Yahoo's properties anyway, but eventually, potentially the whole web.
And what's going to be the big idea, non-summary, on the internet, on mobile apps in the next 5-10 years, Nick? What do you think?
It's this idea of preempting what the user wants to do, I think. And Google Now, I don't think Google launched this product called Google Now on Android, but it's the idea of the phone knows I'm going to search for this query because I'm in this restaurant, or it's 8 o'clock at night, and so it actually preempts what you want to do, and that saves users time, and again is like the hassle of having to type on a keyboard. So there's going to be this artificial intelligence wave of startups, a bit like Summary coming out.
Yeah, and who do you think could be the big companies in future years? The Googles, the Facebooks, the Yahoos, they all dominate now, don't they, the internet space. Who are the startups, the small companies that you think might be able to become as big as the Facebooks of this world in the next 5, in the next 10, in the next 15 years? What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I think in terms of startups, I don't know yet, because there are so many in different spaces. For example, there's a lot in the news space. There's probably about 20 different startups all competing. But on a slightly larger level, I mean, the companies that I think are really cool and are going to get big, Quora, for example, the Q&A service, which again was started by an ex-Facebook employee, or Tumblr. There's kind of these Pinterest, these kind of mid, I think, Series B, Series C level companies that I think have a lot of users and are continuing to get well known and kind of more mainstream.
Final question, Nick, do you feel any different since the Yahoo deal? How do you feel inside as a 17-year-old?
Creatively excited.
Yeah.
Like, just about what I think Yahoo's the right place. It's one of the coolest companies, in my opinion, in the world right now. So I just can't wait to go get started.